Right about 15 minutes now before the hour. Student loan forgiveness. You might forget about that idea if states like Kansas have their way. A little bit of history right now. August of 2022, President Biden announcing this three-part plan to cancel $20,000 worth of federal student loans. But the following June, the U.S. Supreme Court came down and struck down that debt relief plan. But the White House and President Biden, they were not finished. 2 months later, they came in August of that year, begin debt cancellation for millions of Americans. Following year, you've got this new program launch. It's called a SAVE plan. Income-driven repayment plan, IDR for short, based on the income of the family. All right, in October 23, the federal student loan payments resumed. So this has been a ping pong back and forth up till last week. March 21st, President Biden has canceled $143 billion in student loan aid for almost 4 million Americans. Kansas AG Kris Kobach says the state will sue to block the plan. And Kris, good morning to you. Make your best case. How do you think you can win this time?
Well, good morning, Bill. The case is very similar to the first time around. It was illegal when the Biden administration attempted to cancel student debt in 2022, and the Supreme Court held so by a 6-3 decision last summer. Now they're doing it again, and they've been kind of keeping their cards close to their chest as to how they're doing it. But it's become evident that this is going to be a probably well in excess of $200 billion cancellation of debt. The majority of college debt owners will have the entirety of their debt canceled. And they're doing it by twisting the words of federal law once again. The first time they said they were just modifying the loans, and the Supreme Court said, no, you're not. You're canceling the loans. This time they're saying, oh, we're just modifying the terms of debt repayment. But that's not modifying the terms of debt repayment when you take the debt all the way down to zero and you don't have to pay back the principal.
Kris,
that's canceling the loan.
In this scenario, if you're a taxpayer and you didn't go to college, are they paying for this?
Yeah, this is on the back of every taxpayer who didn't go to college, as well as everybody else. So that's a really great point. Think about the unfairness of this. You're taking money from people who decided not to go to college, couldn't afford to college, maybe worked their way through college, and you're giving that money in the form of a taxpayer grant to people who largely many of them are in graduate schools, went to very expensive colleges, and have this student debt. So it's so unfair to do that. It's on the backs of the American taxpayer, and it's particularly unfair when it's on the backs of taxpayers who didn't go to college or worked their way through college.
Okay, it's just a bit of history. 50, 60 years ago, right? Congress created the student loan program, right, known as the Higher Education Act, 1965. Isn't Congress the vehicle by which government can step in and force change on this payment or not?
That's a very good point. Maybe we should have you argue the case, Bill, because that'll be one of our arguments in court. And that is that it's called the major questions doctrine. And the Supreme Court has made it very clear that this is so important to our separation of powers. This is a major question. Congress did so in 1965 when they created it. If Congress wants to forgive that student debt to the tune of $200 billion plus, then only Congress can do it. An unelected executive agency can't just take that power to make these legislative decisions from Congress. And that's one of the main arguments we'll be making in court.
When do you think we'll have an answer?
We're going to be asking the courts to accelerate this case as quickly as possible, but ultimately it's up to them. We'll be filing in a few hours in federal district court in Kansas. It would then go up to the 10th Circuit and possibly to the Supreme Court.
The reason I ask is, Kris, it's an election year. Are you confident that you'll have a decision before November?
We hope to have an injunction in place before November. And you point out something that's, I think, politically important as well. Perhaps it's just coincidence, but the first loan repayment plan happened as the 2022 elections were approaching, and this one is happening as the 2024 elections are approaching. It may just be coincidence, or it may be that the administration is attempting to curry favor with people who have student debt.
Or if you see an elephant on the sidewalk, it really is an elephant. Kris, thank you for your time. We'll follow it, see which way it goes. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you.